Gotcha.
Hey, folks, welcome to the Generational Gap. I'm Robert, your resident Gen Xer, and right over there is John, your resident Millennial. Oh, I realize what you were saying, John. I had us just going. I didn't have our open screen up, I just had us
Yeah.
muted. We were just sitting here looking pretty. Sometimes it's
Yep.
nice when you're just looking pretty. If there weren't technical glitches, they wouldn't
It
need the
wouldn't
word
be our
glitch.
it wouldn't be our show if there weren't technical glitches.
Hey, it is what it is. Hey, I try and keep it exciting, and sometimes the excitement has just got to be fucking up. All right, Todd, how you been, sir? Good to see you.
Yeah, yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Just sending out a little notification here,
Yeah, I
making sure everybody knows
yeah.
how you fucked up. There we go.
Yeah. You let everybody know that because I'm just gonna put it out there. Ed's mad at you.
I know,
Ed is mad,
I know.
mad,
I
madder
totally
than
agree
a
with him
hornet.
too.
He's madder than a hornet, John. Madder than a hornet. I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with him. He's 100% right. I was a dick.
Well,
No, I
if
mean,
it makes you feel any better, nobody showed up but me.
I know. You're the only good boy out of
That
all of us.
and that should tell you something, folks. If I'm the only one that showed up,
Yeah.
but no, that speaks to my
Availability,
maturity and responsibility.
your availability, your lack of other things to do.
I'm sorry, John, you weren't available.
I wasn't. I was not
Is it
available.
possible? Is it possible that any time during that stream we might have seen you come online on your mobile device while you were sleeping?
I don't know.
It's possible, I believe.
It's possible.
It
Hey,
is.
Ron Hilton, what's up?
It was so possible I saw it,
Did you
Mister.
know?
Yeah, I didn't. Ed saw it too. He's like, "Hey, he
Motherfucker.
is on his phone. There is an icon." Yeah, I was like, because I was sitting there, I sent you a text, and I'm like, "Oh, he's
Yeah.
on his phone. That means he's going to respond." You didn't.
No, I was sleeping still.
Were you? So your phone
Yeah.
came online by itself.
No, 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 no. I checked my phone.
Oh, you
But
were doing it while you were half asleep.
yeah,
Hey, Ron Helton was there.
I
He
was
was
checking the
there.
time,
This
and then
is
like I saw those notifications, and I was just like, oh shit. Like,
This is my
yeah,
second time seeing Ron, as it is his second time seeing me today. So good to
that's
see you,
crazy.
Ron. Nice to see you. Hey, John, do that stuff that you do, the obligatory thing. You know, the find us bullshit. The likey
Oh yeah.
things, and
Well, yeah, yeah. So if you're here, you should like our video, you should subscribe to our content. You should follow us on Twitter at the Gen Gap P. You should join our Discord server, links down below. Same thing with going over to freedomscoop.com, and you should also buy our shirts while you're there, because we have a promo code Gen Gap that will get you 15% off, which is pretty fucking awesome.
it's a
I
pretty
think.
good deal. 15%
Yeah.
is 15%.
Right.
That makes things happy. Um, so Ed is probably going to smack you around. He said he's something about
He
throwing
might.
a brick at you.
Yeah,
Um,
wouldn't be the first time.
he, but no, it was fun. It was kind of like just being on his show again because there was nobody else there talking.
Right.
So, which I was on 2 weeks ago. But you know what? Hey, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Um, we talked about fun stuff. Of course, we talked about the impeachment. He wanted to get some roundtable input, feedback on the impeachment, which would have been good. It would have been nice to have some different
Yeah.
opinions. He kind of knows where I'm at because we kind of talked about some of this stuff on the show a couple of weeks ago. But no, it was a good conversation. Because the
Yeah.
impeachment stuff is just,
No, I'll be at the next Freedom Scoop roundtable thing. I think just doing it right before Christmas was a bad idea in general,
yeah,
just
because
because,
that impedes your nap time. What? I don't want to.
yes.
What?
I
No.
wasn't talking about for me. I
Oh,
wasn't
for
talking about
you.
for
I
me.
got you. I
I
got you.
was not
Oh,
talking
you're
about for me.
speaking for others now.
Yes.
Oh, is
Well, we
that
got
what you're doing?
Stevens in North Carolina. Jake's probably dealing with family, and he's got kids and whatnot. Wyatt was out bagging groceries or something. I don't know, whatever it is he does. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know.
I'm just thinking maybe you guys need to prioritize a little. You kids these days.
Yeah.
as it were. This is important stuff that we're doing, John. The people out there need us. They need to hear what we're saying. They look forward to these moments with us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I don't expect a high, as high a viewership whenever we're coming into Christmas 2 days away.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
so it's not
So
it's
thank you, Ron Helton, for being here.
yeah it's a big one. And it doesn't say anything about you. Obviously, just don't have a life at all.
Damn.
Nothing like that, because that would say the
Yeah.
same thing about us.
Yeah, see, the
Obviously,
problem was, I was up at 1 a.m., then, you know,
you
done
know,
at like 4. Fucking sucked. But I'm here now.
wait. You were up till 1 a.m.
No, I
And
was up at 1 a.m.
because
work. I have this
okay,
thing called a job that I have to
okay,
go to.
so I get you.
So I was
And then
super fucking tired when I got home. Like
yeah,
really tired.
which was at what time?
About 3:34 ish.
So you worked a 14-hour day.
Yeah.
You worked a 14-hour day, John. Are you sure?
Yes.
So you're bank,
Positive.
you're
I was
bank,
there.
you're banking that overtime.
Oh yeah. No, it's gonna be great when I get my check, but right now, fucking no.
Um, I would feel bad for you, but again, it's about priorities, John. It's about
Yeah.
priorities. You're a
I mean, unless you guys
celebrity.
want to see like a Sleepy Boy stream where I'm just sitting here the whole
Look,
stream. I
if
mean,
you
that's up
if
to you.
if you want to establish celebrity status, you've got to live up to it, John. And that
I
that
don't
mean
want to be a celebrity.
then
Hey, what?
why are you on YouTube wanting more subscribers? I don't understand.
Because it's really hard to become a celebrity on YouTube. You can gain some kind of notoriety. Meanwhile, you can actually leave your house without being recognized. That's what I kind of want. You know, be able to sit here and like, oh look, people like me, and then I can just leave and no one knows who I am. That's the ideal.
Well, I think you accomplished that just by being forgettable.
Oh, good.
So
That'd be good.
you're
I've worked many years on that. Like many years
good to
on
see
being
you, Wyatt.
forgettable.
Good to see you, Wyatt. Hey,
What's up? What's up?
so John, there's obviously, we could talk about lots of shit. We could talk about this, the hamster wheel, the grinding the wheels of the impeachment, which is, it's basically coming to a standoff between them. Now I'm beginning to believe that it's just it's going to be about election tampering. This is what
Yep.
it's election manipulation at this point is what it's going to be used for on both
Yep.
sides. And I have a problem with that because if I'm going to have a problem with Russians doing it, if I'm going to have a problem with other
Yeah.
foreign powers doing it, I'm certainly going to have a problem with our own powers doing it, which I always would
Yeah. Of
have.
course.
But this is just going to be openly doing it, and that I have a
Right. It's
problem with.
blatant.
You know,
Yeah.
I'll hold the articles up and we'll make him look bad, but whether you have reasons to do it or not, I don't know. It's a bunch of
Yeah.
shit. And so then and now it's just coming down to a big discussion about which is the bigger cancer in Washington. Is it Republicans or Democrats? Because I don't care what anybody says. The Democrats on their side, yes, they're very cancerous, but the Republicans are just as cancerous. Um,
I
they
don't know.
they are. They, you know,
I don't know. I think Democrats are slightly more cancerous.
no, Democrats are slightly more cancerous because they are currently the cancer,
Right.
the contentious cancer. This is,
They're the defending
if
champions.
we had
Yeah.
said this during the Clinton years, we would have been saying that the
The
Republicans were
Republicans were.
cancerous. If we'd been
Right.
doing it during the Bush years, Democrats were cancerous, right?
I don't know
Depending.
though. Depending on what,
Well,
what part of the Bush years. The
who you
first,
support, right?
well, no, the first 4 years, people were pretty,
Well, everybody.
united in, ready to go and fuck up some Arabs. But
Sure. We were coming off
I'm,
8 years of Clinton attacks, right? Though.
yeah.
Um,
I mean,
but-
yeah. But after 9/11, I mean, that was really it. At least until late in Bush's second term.
But Republicans were the douchebags when Obama got elected, and they're like, "We're going to make sure you're a one-term president."
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
everybody wants to be
But they didn't
cancerous
go.
when it's
They
their
didn't go
turn.
to these lengths. They didn't go to these lengths though.
What's the what's the one important difference here is Trump. Trump is what makes the difference in this one because he is as vocal from his side as the contentious party is from their side.
He's as vocal, but he's not as
Right.
cancerous.
Well, I mean, what? How is he
He's
not
not.
cancerous? Look at the way he
No,
is.
what I said was he's not as
Oh, not as
cancerous.
cancerous. Okay, whatever. I had
You heard what you wanted to hear.
somebody in Ed's chat. I forget who was it. What was his? Oh, God damn it! The name is slipping my mind because it was so long. But anyway, he called as he referred to him the troll in chief because I was saying Trump along with everybody else in the society are just they're it's a troll society in so many aspects from so many different sides. It's all about trolling. It's trolling. It's trolling. It's and so I mean it's like when you have him. If take Clinton for instance, during his fucking crazy hurricane of a last 4 years. If he had been as vocal on Twitter, if he had been doing the same thing as Trump, his would have been as exposed as this one is. It would have been the raw nerve that this one has become because that's what you when you have the other side willing to jump in. It's one thing when it's one guy pushing another guy and saying, "Hey, let's fuck you, let's fight, let's fight, let's fight," and the other guy's like,
Well,
"No, it's not an exciting fight." But when they both start pushing back and forth, then everybody's like, "Oh, cool, fight, fight, fight! Here we
yeah,
go."
yeah.
It's more visible today than it has been with other
It's more
presidents
visible.
because
Yeah.
both sides
But also
are being
back in Clinton,
contentious.
if we had the same like social media
The
influence and the
same
same
level.
site, right? With Clinton though being in office, it still would have been completely different. He's got a completely different personality. He's far more charismatic and diplomatic
You know,
than Trump is. At least out in the open.
it wouldn't have been him on there doing it. It would have been Hillary. Hillary would have done it.
I don't think she runs her own social media accounts.
Well, she seems to be pretty lippy right now.
Well,
She's
yeah.
put out some lippiness over the last few months, here and there, taking the little
Oh
jabs
god,
and
my
this.
favorite one was talking about nobody's above the law.
Right,
The
right,
fucking
right.
nerve, the audacity,
Nobody's
the
above the law.
balls, the balls
I
of the
am
state.
the law. I am
Oh
the
my god,
law.
the fucking balls of that
Epstein
dude.
wasn't above the law.
Well,
His sentence was carried out,
yeah, he would have been above the law though.
and the
No, he wouldn't
judge
have
and
gotten it.
jury
He wouldn't have.
decided on him.
No, Clinton decided on him.
Who else do you need for
I guess.
judge and
Yeah, who else
jury
is
on
the judge
that?
and
I mean,
jury?
come on.
Yeah. God damn.
Hey,
Mm.
Mitch McConnell gets to be judge and jury, and he gets to work with the person on trial. So I mean, it's a
Maybe
fun
if it
it's
goes
fun.
that far, that they
Yeah,
allow it to go that
yeah. If
far.
it goes that far, yeah. It's a fun game that's being played, and yeah, it's But again, I don't want to sit. I'm not going to sit around anymore and take a one-sided approach to this. Washington's fucked up. Both sides are fucked up right now. I mean,
Hmm.
you've got Republicans that are memeing and trolling in official impeachment hearings. I don't care how appropriate the hearings are. It's a function that's happening,
Hmm.
and to get up there and troll with memes on easels and ragging on people.
Fuck it.
Funny as it is,
Nah,
it's not
it's fine.
appropriate. It's not
It
appropriate
doesn't matter.
not in our
Nothing about
politics.
this.
No.
Nothing is appropriate anymore. Nothing is sacred
And isn't that
anymore.
the and isn't that the problem?
It's a TV show in its eighth season, and the writers have run out of ideas.
Right, and
They're
that's
just
the
throwing
that's
shit against the wall to see what sticks, and
and
that's about
that's
it.
where we're at. So there it is, John. How do we fix
Yep.
that? How do we
Cancel it.
fucking fix that?
You gotta
Well, you
cancel it. Do a
can't,
spinoff.
but you can't cancel it because the
Again,
spin-offs, because you're going to have multiple spin-offs, and that's going to be
yeah.
a bigger issue.
Maybe they'll do
right?
a crossover episode.
And you can never be, when you have the spinoff, then you can't be sure if the spinoff is going to be in any way successful just because people think it's a good idea.
And you can keep doing spinoffs as long as it makes money.
Because they're going to make, you know what the mistake will be? They'll hire a lot of the same writers
Yeah,
and then
they won't.
expect them to
Yeah.
come up with some new idea when they couldn't come up with a new idea before. So my
Yeah,
thought is this: uh, you rehire the writing pool every 4 years. So
every two
you
years.
no, every 4 years. Let them run 2 terms each, just like the president
That's
does.
fucking
Let them have a couple of terms in Congress and watch it. In fact, what about this? What if they could have multiple terms as representatives? However,
They can't be
they can't
consecutive.
run consecutive terms.
Um,
Make it a to either 2 or 4 year term, but they cannot run consecutive terms.
I don't know. They might Putin that and just change the name. That's what he does every few years because he can't run consecutively for the same office. So he'll change the name. You know, for one term he'll be prime minister, another term he'll be
Oh,
president,
oh,
another term he'll be whatever the hell
no,
else.
no, you can't.
So he'll just keep changing the name. He's
Um,
like, I'm following the law, you know.
well, then you just look for the way to prevent that. You know,
Premiere was the one I was thinking of.
I mean,
Premiere.
basically, if you just have to put it. You could think of safeguards for this, right? We've got AI, we've got computers that could solve these
Yeah, how
things.
well have our safeguards worked for us, though? I mean, we've got the Fourth Amendment that's completely gone.
Well,
Tenth Amendment's
now,
gone.
now in the
Second Amendment's on its way out. First Amendment's being, under attack. When are they coming for the Third Amendment? That's really what I wanted to know. When
well,
is that going down? God damn
any
it.
day now, whenever
Yeah,
martial law gets put into place, then that one's going to come into question.
that's true.
But here's the thing. So the Constitution, if we look at, would you say, let me back up with a little preface. I'm sorry. Would you say that the Fourth Amendment is probably, like, quite honestly, the first one that is actually just took a full on hit and has been eroded down to next to nothing?
I would say the Tenth Amendment was probably the first one for that to happen,
Which is
which is the one that says any powers not specified in the Bill of Rights goes to the states. That was gone after the Civil War. I mean, that's been gone.
well, been gone, or
Yeah, and I know.
not been backed up.
And saying "Holy fuck, he's alive." Yeah, I
Uh,
know. It's all right. I already got attacked by Robert about that. Yeah, I was just explaining that I was up since 1 a.m. and needed a much needed nap, and yeah, fortunately I didn't wake up. But yeah, please continue, Robert.
um, what the hell was I saying?
I don't know. You're talking some nonsense about something to do with. I mentioned the Tenth
Oh,
Amendment
the Tenth
being
Amendment.
gone after the Civil War.
So is it that that its power was taken away, or it's not been enforced properly or protected properly? I mean, because states run into situations all the time. Like, isn't marijuana a good example of how states are? That is, well, no, I guess
Um,
technically it's not. I don't know.
no,
Is it?
it's not. Well, it only is because that's one thing that Obama did do. I think correctly is that he said we're not going after dispensaries in states where it's legal. We're going to leave the states alone about that. But before that, when it was legal, the feds would come in and raid the dispensaries all the time.
I mean, when I see things like sanctuary, for instance, the
The gun
sanctuary
counties.
counties for guns,
Yeah.
knowing that there's like, you know, 200 or 300 of these across the United States that are springing up, and more are springing
Yeah.
up. That is another example of how the 10th Amendment is working. Like, so these, even on a
Well,
small level, but, well, how well it'll stand up in
they
a
haven't.
court.
Right. They haven't been challenged yet.
Right. Um, but, is it possible that it hasn't really been tested as as much as not existing.
Um, no, I mean, there's been lots of like like the abortion Roe versus Wade
Right.
thing. That took the power out of the state's hands to at least make it completely illegal. Right? They can regulate it, but they can't make it completely illegal.
Okay, so but isn't that a failure in letting precedents in the Supreme Court set
Yeah,
law? I
but
mean,
that's a violation of the 10th Amendment.
okay, yeah, okay. So I guess that's what I'm trying. So allowing the Supreme Court's precedents to set standards for the country like that,
Yeah.
that violates the 10th Amendment, or it just doesn't protect it.
Well, so no, I mean it does because it doesn't allow the states to pass the law that a lot of states would like to pass, which is completely outlawing abortion. Now, whether you agree with that or not is beside the point. It's about the fact that the states aren't allowed to decide that. Well, yeah, I mean, and same thing with all drugs, like we talked about, a minute ago, is that if it's on the Schedule One list, then you can't make it legal, technically. I mean, even technically, Trump could send the feds in and raid dispensaries in any state that he wants. Doesn't do it, but he most certainly has the power to do so.
Well, I guess ultimately the question I'm trying to figure out, have any of these cases specifically been fought on the premise of it violating the 10th Amendment?
I'm
The,
sure. I don't know off the top of my
okay,
head.
I didn't know. That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if the 10th Amendment has been tested and been failed by the Supreme Court, or if it's just, you know, subjectively ignored in these situations, because I would think that people would fight more strongly from that standpoint. You're gonna
You
you're
would
gonna
think
fight
so.
you're gonna fight states' rights whenever it comes to guns, right? The Second Amendment is one where states' rights that gets talked about a lot, right?
Yeah. Well, that's specifically supposed to be regulated by the states due to the 10th Amendment.
Right. Which is also that, and so yeah, so the government regulating on it, you would say that that is a violation of the 10th Amendment from the get-go then, as
Yeah.
well as the Second Amendment.
Right. Any gun law is technically an infringement on the Second Amendment, and any gun law passed by the federal government is an infringement on both the 10th and the second.
Gotcha. Okay, so that makes sense. Okay, so the 10th Amendment has been in question for a long time. But the Fourth Amendment now, after the Patriot Act, has pretty much been
Patriot Act was the one.
obliterated, right?
It was the one. I mean, there was other, phone tappings and things like that, but they actually had to get a warrant
Well,
for
sure,
one.
there were
And
processes to go through, but
right.
now everything can be
But now the
listened to.
technology is there. Yeah, the technology is there to now do it with ease, and they have carte blanche to listen to whoever they want and all that kind of shit.
Right. The only
So,
challenge is to whether or not it can be used against you.
right.
Right. That's what the challenge comes down to, um, because we've removed it. I think there we've removed the right to challenge on the Fourth Amendment right. Um, so that's you know over 200 years the Constitution survived without an amendment being completely obliterated. Um, and it took a pretty. I'm surprised it took that to do it, or maybe I'm not. I don't know. It's catch 22.
Mm,
I think it was already underway. I think 9/11 was the impetus needed to initiate a full scale openness about privacy.
right.
Like you said, this was already something that we were doing to a certain extent, and spies,
Right.
right? We've always talked about, you've always known about spies and the CIA and the
Well, I
KGB,
mean, spies are
and
as old as warfare itself. I mean,
sure,
that's not,
but I'm talking about
as
with
old as
wire. I'm
nations
talking
even.
about with wiretapping and
Yeah,
and illegal
talking
invasions of
about the kind of
privacy.
James Bond kind of spy.
Right. So, but now these even illegal invasions of privacy can be be termed legal or deemed legal, even if they weren't gotten through warrant, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
So I don't know. Is 200 over 200 years a good run for the Constitution before it gets before it starts being gutted and disposed of? 200 years, mind you, almost 250 years, mind you, of um, evolving society, evolving technology,
Yeah.
evolving culture, evolving politics, evolving population, everything. This all of the growth and all of the change over the last 200 and something years. Isn't it surprising that it lasted this long?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so. I would say it's pretty surprising, especially just with like the nature of government itself and how it's designed to grow and gain more power. The fact that it took this long, and the Constitution is technically still there, so it's not, it hasn't gone completely. I mean, I do think that's pretty impressive that it was able to kind of curb human nature and governmental nature for so long.
Right.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's plenty of times throughout our history where the Constitution's just been tossed aside for a while, or permanently in some cases. But for the most part, it remains intact.
Well, I will say this. I will honestly say that I don't believe that throughout our history, since becoming a country, since our gaining our independence, I should say, I think the one thing that we've never been good about preserving is human rights, like observing human rights. Um, on a small scale level, on the small scale from just a citizen to citizen level, we're not good at it there. But then when you expand it into a global scale, we're also not good with it there. Um, we I don't know. We don't like we sit. It's for us. It's more about showmanship when we want to address human rights issues in other parts of the world. When actions that we need to take throughout the world, it's questionable
Yeah.
as to whether or not we're worried about human. I mean, look at things that we've seen in recent wars. What with the blow up of social media, we see our own military doing disgusting, silly, fucking nightmarish, trollish, unthinkable things with the enemy. These inhumane things.
Yeah.
There was evidence of some of that going on, right? And I get it. Everybody in the world does it, but that doesn't make it okay, right? But I think
Right.
human rights are one thing that we've never been good about recognizing or
Well, I mean, the
observing.
problem with human rights is they're completely subjective and change, like every couple of decades or whatever. But I do think that Ron Helton has a point here.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of what I was trying to say a little bit. Was the Constitution has continually been eroded since its inception. They should have stayed with the Articles of Confederation, which I've mentioned before. Biggest degradation began under Lincoln. Right. Yep. Just before the Civil War. The main impetus for the Civil War was the degradation of the Constitution and states' rights in general, the power grab from the
Right.
North.
But
But no, I mean, of course, it was just about slavery. It was all, the
well,
South were obviously just evil people
well,
on the whole.
here's the thing. When we talk about the Constitution and we talk about the founding of this country, um, I understand that these people had vision, okay? But remember, we're talking about humans. We're talking about humans with a lifespan that average lifespan 250 years ago was running what at best somewhere between 40 and
Six,
80,
nah,
somewhere
60
in that
something.
range. Yeah,
Right. The only
60.
reason why,
I mean,
the average lifespan was so low was because of the high infant mortality rate. That's why
you know,
the average goes down.
and so they can think about things in the future to a certain extent. They can picture for
Yeah.
generations to come. But when they talk about generations to come, I mean our limited scope tends to keep us within 2 or 3 generations. We think about maybe great great grandfather
Yeah.
level stuff, right? but the evolution of states' rights, the idea of states' rights, couldn't have really taken into account the total imbalance of population that we see in this country. Like when we talk about the electoral college, how necessary it is. Yes, they saw the necessity for that even at their level with different
Hmm.
sizes of states, but to picture it now, the weight that one state could carry without the electoral college is the reason to keep the kind of busted electoral college, right? Um,
Yeah,
and but they couldn't really picture like New York and Los Angeles, Hollywood and all of that, these two major hubs all the way across the country from each other.
yeah,
These points in time that are the scale of the scale of population determining the scale of government. Because, it's this idea that if you have more people to govern, you need more government to do it. So you feed into that without, really delving into, can we govern the people with less? Can we continue to govern
yeah.
them?
Well,
Um,
see, the thing is, they actually had. I don't know whether or not they made this connection, but there was a contemporary example of something like that in shit, Austria, I believe, where it was so talking about more government. Yes, however, at a more local scale. So there was an architect, an engineer in Austria named Vauban. I can't remember his first name. I think it was Otto Vauban. Or Von,
right.
yeah, Vauban. Um, I'm probably butchering that name, but he came up with the idea of miniature fortresses. So instead of because they have very low amounts of money, so instead of making like one huge fortress to cover an area, they made much smaller ones, but a lot more of them.
Right.
And so they took very few people to man. They were very cheap to build, and they effectively covered an area. Same thing can be done with local government. You don't need more top heavy government. You don't need one huge, very expensive
Sure.
bloated government. You can have a bunch of smaller ones all over the place, and that was the idea originally, right?
Right.
State governments, city governments, or
Of
county
course.
governments, city
Right.
governments, local municipalities. Um, so I think, yeah, it doesn't matter how big the population gets. When there's a new town, there's a new government there. No need for top-down control.
Well, and I can agree with that, but again, you know, limited scope of where our minds go. You know, they were
Well,
they
no, it's just
imagining
easier.
that as a possibility with a population of 350 million people. You know,
I don't know
um,
about that exact number, but
but
they definitely knew that the population was going to grow as long as everything didn't go to shit completely.
but see that's and but what you can't foresee. What you can't foresee are like these dramatic shifts that are going to occur. So, for instance, take the Civil War. They didn't
Hmm.
see that coming. They didn't
I
know
don't think
that
that's
was going to
true.
happen.
No, that's not true at
Hold
all.
on.
That's
Let
not
me
true at all.
hold on. Let me finish.
Okay, but they did.
They could see that war was coming. Maybe they knew that war would happen. Maybe, but what they didn't foresee is what the outcome would be, what the effect would be, what changes would be enacted, because they wouldn't know who was going to win a war if it happened
Yeah.
in the country, what the sides were going to be warring about necessarily, because that's even misconstrued what the war was about
Well,
to
yeah.
this
Oh,
day,
God.
right?
Yeah.
So
People are so fucking
right.
simple.
This was, it was a financial war. It wasn't. Slavery was just a byproduct of
Right. And
what
it was
was
it
going
was
on in the
really only
war.
said about that after the war. Is for propaganda purposes. That's why
Sure.
it was said. Yeah.
So therefore, when you look at in slavery, they could not have even. I bet they didn't even imagine the scope of what would happen if all of the slaves were freed, and created this racial division in this country. Immediately it does, because people see an amendment going into the Constitution that specifically decries what the Constitution stands for because they
Yeah.
see it as pertaining to white Americans.
And that was a failure on the founding fathers. However, I understand why. Is because it was so contentious, that issue of whether or not you know I guess black people are people or not, and whether or not it's legal. It should be morally correct to own slaves or not. That was a huge argument that happened, during the writing up of the Constitution. And so they kind of just kicked the can down the road. They're like, well, we're trying to form a nation here. We've got
Right,
other issues to get to.
right,
We're obviously not going to solve this here. Kick the can down the road, and they
and
kept kicking the can down the road until the Civil War happened.
right, and that was a big fucking can, wasn't it? It was a,
Yeah,
it
it
was
got bigger and bigger. Yeah,
it was one of the most impactful kicked cans in our
yeah,
American history. Because look at the changes that happened in our culture, in our politics. All of it shifted from there forward. And that's like one of those evolutionary jumps that they could not have pictured happening, which really changes the scope of how you look at the Bill of Rights. Suddenly, you're forcing people to look at it. What do you mean this applies to all people?
yeah,
What? What do you mean?
yeah,
And then you've got other people saying, "Of course it does. It's very clear, clearly stated that
yeah,
it applies to all people." And the other side says, "But no, it clearly states that it applies to all of us people."
yeah,
That's what happened, and they can't picture that kind of thing. So this is surprising to me that we have managed to maintain the Constitution as a structural foundational piece of this country. As much as erosion as you talk about has gone on, and now we're looking at full scale decimation of parts of the Constitution. I mean, it's not surprising to me, but it is that it's taken this long.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's how you take someone's rights from them, right? Just slowly, one piece at a time. Otherwise, they'll get wise and rise up. Just a little bit more. You just take a little bit more. All right, we just need a little bit more.
But
And then eventually it's done.
I think it's a common thing amongst any great general. I know Sun Tzu said something to the effect that every every plan is a great plan until the first arrow flies.
Yeah,
Right?
no,
That
no
const-
plane survives. No plane survives contact with the
Yeah,
enemy.
there's
Yeah,
there's lots of right.
I
There's
don't think that was Sun Tzu.
well, Sun Tzu said that's why I said Sun Tzu has said something similar.
He
And
might
he
have.
said that in the Art of War, something similar in the Art of War, that your strategy is only it's you need to understand that if you're going to be a general, right?
Yeah, being about
Doesn't
adaptability and yeah, all that.
drop your plans, but get ready because
Yeah,
shit's going to change. Well, that's the Constitution as well.
yeah.
That was a great document in its time, but it was not. I don't think it was fully prepared. Now, would you disagree on that it was fully prepared for the present day and age?
Um, yeah. I mean, I think they did the best they could. I think they did the best they could with,
Oh shit.
as far as they could see in the future, and trying to prepare for things that they couldn't see.
Uh huh.
I mean, that's kind of why it's there, and why the Supreme Court is there, to interpret it for the modern age, whatever age that might be. Um,
Right.
oh shit,
Oh
that was
shit. What?
jarring.
What was
That was
stirring?
jarring.
I know. I was trying to sneak something in on you, wasn't I?
Yeah, you were. Oh, dude, Midget B and the Hoos.
Midget B showed up. Nice.
He did.
Hey, look who else is in the house.
Oh shit, it's an Ed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where were you, young man?
I was sleeping, man. I was catching up on some Z's.
It's time for a Freedom Scoop intervention.
Yeah, absolutely. And you wanted to have the other intervention.
That's right. Yeah, we didn't get around to that, did we?
Yeah, because nobody showed up except for Robert. Robert was the responsible one.
Yeah, like I said, Robert was the only good boy. So
You millennial kids.
I know, right? Having to, get up at 1 a.m. and stay up the rest of, that working 14 hours,
And the funny thing is, it
in the
sounds
rain.
like it sounds
I
like
was in
I'm
the
the
rain,
it
going
sounds
uphill both ways.
shut up. It honestly sounds like I am the only one that actually forgot that that was happening today because
I
I
did
I
forget.
happen to
I really
remember
did.
it. I happen to remember it around 5 o'clock whenever I was looking at Discord, and I was like, "Oh yeah, we're supposed to get together with Ed," but I knew it wasn't till later, so I was like, "Okay, we're cool there." But
Yeah.
I was like, I could go take a nap and just be total douche about this. No,
No, John's already doing
I'll
that. I
be I'll be nice to you.
can't. John already called it. No, no. I'm sorry. I missed it, Ed. Yeah, it was just, I was just
I
exhausted.
tell him about the brick, Ed. Tell him about the brick.
I heard about the brick. So it wouldn't be the first time you throw something at me, do something hard at me. Hey,
Thanks,
RRC, what's up?
RRC in the house. Oh, and hello, midget. I know John called you out, but hello. Don't worry about being late. We're, as long as you're not pregnant, you can be as late as you want.
It's true.
Ooh, a food run.
Oh, dude,
I'll
give me
take.
something.
I have two favorite things in this world: shiny things and cheeseburgers. So pick me up.
Well, actually, it just went on a food run between shows, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny thing is I tell my wife that all the time. Shiny things and cheeseburgers, and I've said that for many years that those are the two things I love. And then Five Guys, the burger joint, showed up, and they wrap their cheeseburgers in shiny aluminum foil, and I'm like, oh, you talk about heaven. That's my two favorite things together. Shiny things and cheeseburgers. Shit, I'm
Yeah,
set.
Five Guys does make a good burger, though.
Yeah, too bad it's like $20 a burger.
It is
Well,
not.
it's not, but their fries, I love French fries, but they just fucking just pile them in there, and I can't
They
eat them
s-
all. And it's like
I-
even
they
if,
s-
I have to get the small, like the tiny fries, or what they call it, and it's still like an entire bag full of fries.
Hold on though.
It's
Well,
like,
Now
I'm about
fuck
to make
you.
the Irish in you very sad, John.
Why?
I don't care for French fries or potatoes.
You are a terrible person.
I like potatoes a little bit, but I
Now,
cannot
no,
eat
now
too
I'm
many of
glad I
them.
missed your show.
how do you call yourself a man if you don't like potatoes? What the hell else are you going to eat with your steak?
Right? What else do you eat with your other potatoes? I don't understand. I
I would have survived the potato famine.
Um,
doubt it. What are you gonna have? That was all in England. You're not so having dick.
no, I actually love the amount of fries that they give. Now, I'm eating as a couple, right? So we order one large.
Yeah, you're eating for two,
We
right?
we order a medium or a large fry, and we split those. But if I'm by myself, if I'm running solo, I will get the order of fries, but I'll eat half of them, and then I take the other half. And I know, John, this won't speak to you because you don't know how to cook or anything, even though this is not difficult. But I'll take the other half the next
Jesus.
day, and I put them on a cookie sheet, stick them in the oven for a little bit, and then put some cheese over the top of them. They make great
Yeah,
cheese fries the second day. They make
nice.
awesome cheese fries because they still have it. They're nice and greasy, so they crisp up when you put them in the oven, and they're like fresh again. But they are expensive. I will agree with that. They are
They're more.
expensive.
They're not $20 though. It's
No,
not
No, I
20
know.
no,
bucks.
I know.
Yeah.
I know that I can go in there and I can eat, and it's going to cost me. If I do the math right now, it's going to cost me about $12 to $13 to get myself bacon, a little bacon. I do the little. I don't do the regular. I do the little.
Yeah.
They fill me up on one patty. So
Yeah.
I do the
Well, the thing
littles.
is, like, I'm kind of a bigger dude, but even with Five Guys, if I eat that, I won't eat the rest of the day. It's just so filling
It
for
does.
so long.
That's the thing. It
So,
sits in your gut, doesn't it? It sits
yeah,
there. It's
it sits
nothing
there
like
forever.
Chinese. No.
Right.
But I think the
Yeah.
French fries are what helped that along. The French
Well,
fries,
yeah,
because those are some dense fuckers, but they got good. They're good fucking
they're
fries.
delicious. Yeah.
They are. I'm just like, what the hell? expensive.
Yeah.
No, sir. That's access. And now I'm going to put this out there. She may yell at me, but I have a picture to prove it. I have to post it in Discord. But one of the five guys that my wife and I go to on a regular basis, one of their signs, they put their different signs from awards or critics that they've gotten up on the walls. But we have a regular table that we sit at, and the sign in the window directly behind the table, behind her chair, best bang for your buck.
That's funny.
And I'm like, this is the perfect place for us to sit every time. So it's a fun place to eat too. I gotta say, it's just.
Yeah.
But hey,
I feel bad for people with peanut allergies though. You can't even go within a mile of a Five Guys without just dying.
Yeah, too
Do you
bad.
guys like Hoo Hot? Or do you have that?
Depends
down
on
there?
what you mean by who.
It depends on the time of day, but yeah, if it's within the first 24 hours of the day, I don't mind it.
Do you guys have one of those down there or no?
No.
Well, I don't have one personally, but I married one.
No, it's a Mongolian grill that I really like going to, and I know it's franchise, so.
With a name like Hoo Ha, it must be good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is delicious, and you brought up allergies. My girlfriend has a mild peanut allergy. It's actually really mild. She can usually survive having Reese's Pieces and stuff, but even still, they have to give her a yellow bowl when you go in there to signal the allergy, and they scrub the flat top that they cook on and barrier off the section where they're gonna cook her food.
They gotta hate that then.
No,
The cooks in the back, they gotta hate that.
but are they? I don't. I'm not even gonna. I'm not trying to be racist, but are they Asians that work?
Wow.
Are they Asians that work there?
I am highly offended.
Are they
They
Asian?
should be.
Are
I'm
they?
offended for them.
Are they Asian or not?
They are not.
Oh, okay. So maybe they do have a problem with it. I'm just gonna.
Yeah.
Asians are very hardworking and they have a very good work ethic, so they don't take things They're not
Right,
bothered
they're not
by.
gonna complain about
Right,
things,
they're
yeah.
not bothered by that like Americans would be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean Americans.
You mean white people is what you mean.
No, I'm not. No, American. I said the word I meant. I know
The
what I
kind of people that Andrew Yang is not.
Right.
I'm the
Oh.
No,
only
he's
non-white person
he's
up here.
American. He's American. He's full blood American.
God.
I'm the only non-white person up here, and I want to speak to non-white issues.
Yeah.
Hey,
We didn't even go over that on my show.
Hey, if you get a chance, I have to say,
Yeah,
why
I was talking too much during your show, so sorry.
if you get a chance, watch the latest SNL episode, their Christmas
God.
episode. Eddie Murphy hosts it. He's in there, which is great. He brings back a lot of his old characters. Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. I'm just saying, it's pretty fucking good. But
Was
anyway,
it him that did Gumby?
yes, he brought Gumby
Yeah.
in. He brought
Gumby.
Gumby in during the update.
That's
And
how my dad got his nickname,
I mean,
because he did a great impression of Eddie Murphy doing Gumby.
I-
And he was also thin as a stick when he was a kid. So.
Eddie kept trying to. I think Eddie was trying to break them up throughout the show. You can, if you watch it, you'll see it looked like he was trying to break him up, just trying to get him off. But they did the debate. Is why I mentioned it. They did a skit on the
course.
debate, which was quite funny, mostly because Kamala showed up, and that shit was funny.
I'm sure it was fantastic.
Well, not the real Kamala.
Well, obviously.
No.
Obviously not.
No, it was. It was actually, I laughed out loud, which I don't do a
What?
lot with their stuff anymore.
lolled.
I actually, is that what it is?
You lolled. Yeah.
Is that what lol means?
Yeah.
I thought LOL. I thought it was lol.
Yeah, but if it's past tense, you lolled.
No.
Yeah.
I lolled.
I mean, you can say it that way too. if you
Because
want.
lol is actually a word. I lolled around. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it's
See,
different
you kids
context.
and your
There's lots of no.
your
There's
fancy
lots of different
interweb
words.
speak.
The same word with different meanings.
Your meme
So,
speak. Your meme
like
speak.
Deer and deer, you know. Same sound, different spelling, different word.
You see, this is
And
what
only one is culturally acceptable on my table.
That's right.
this is what the two youngest generations are going to try and do. They're going to try and get meme speak to be the next Ebonics and get it
Well,
classified as a language.
High Point just came out with a new 9 millimeter pistol called the Yeet Cannon. So, yes, that's absolutely happening. There's a meme.
A 9mm is not a yeet cannon.
No, but that's what the internet named it.
Yeah, no, it's not a yeet cannon. The yeet cannon is in the
It's like a 12
nightstand
pound.
over there.
That's a 12-pound cannon. That's a 12-pounder right there. Yeet cannon. But to yeet your whole empire off the face of the earth.
If you want to attach the word cannon to it, it's got to be 50 cal.
Yeah, that would be preferable. But the internet spoke, and so therefore it is.
You boys and your big guns. I can handle my business with a Derringer, folks.
The funniest person I've ever heard say yeet cannon was Blippity Blop from the Deplorable Batcave.
Oh yeah, isn't he
His
like
voice
German?
and the accent together when he said yeet cannon, I just cracked up.
Yeet cannon. Was it because he's English,
He's
right?
got that deep voice, and then he's got the English accent that goes along with
No,
it.
he's English. Okay, yeah. I didn't know if he was the German one that they keep around.
He was the English one.
Gotcha.
Siebel, get the yeet cannon.
So Ed, I'm glad that you showed up, but I have to tell you that there's a good chance that we're not going to be around much longer. But I will get your opinion on this. We were currently. Have you been watching? You were watching, so you know what we've been talking
he was
about.
there.
I was
Are you?
supposed to make dinner, but I figured I'd come in.
Are you at all surprised that the Constitution has lived as long as it has without being totally just destroyed or done away with?
I am not surprised that it has, because the inherent desire for liberty lives in all of us, even though under group duress, people can be convinced to go into authoritarianism. And for the most part, when people are out and individualized, like out in rural areas, like rural Wisconsin, where I grew up, you see a lot more desire for liberty. I mean, they'll still vote Democrat because most of them work union jobs, but
Yeah.
that goes back into the group mindset of that. But I mean, you see a lot more of the Democrat ideals in the big city, where they're all packed together and they're all thinking on one. So yeah, the idea of liberty is ingrained in us. And what do the articles in the first 10 amendments essentially say when you boil it all down? It's one commandment for the government: thou shalt leave me the fuck alone.
Yep.
Now, in having said that, do you honestly believe that even with their foresight, which we can applaud in many of the things they did in setting up the Constitution, were they in any way able to put together something that spoke to present day America? I mean, could they have even had any clue that this present day America is what we would evolve to?
I believe that they could have. I don't think that they would have wanted this for America by any chance. I don't think they would have wanted New York City the way that it's laid out today. I don't think they would have wanted to see a Chicago or a Los Angeles or anything like that. But I don't think it was outside the realm of possibility. I mean, that's part of the reason that we have the Great Compromise when we go along electoral politics, because people were already gathering to New York, and Rhode Island was getting the shaft off of it.
Right.
Massachusetts
Philadelphia.
was populated, and Vermont didn't have shit. And that's just right in New England itself. Well, let's not even consider what was happening in Virginia, North Carolina, and Georgia at the time.
Yeah.
Do you agree that the Civil War was a big game changer? The outcome of the Civil War and the effects that it had. Would you agree that was a big game changer that really limited the scope of where their constitutional foresight was looking?
Well, the Civil War could only end one way, and that is the reality. There was no way that it was going to go the other direction.
Not true.
No, there was no way that it was going to go the other direction
No, I mean, there
because
absolutely
the
was.
majority of the army.
If France had entered the war on the side of the Confederacy like they were planning to,
I still don't think it would have gone the different direction.
I think it really could have. I don't know.
You see, the
I think
Civil
we
War
would've-
is still being fought today.
What's funny is I grew up in Charleston, South Carolina, where the Civil War started, and my dad was working for a computer company at the time, back when that was a thing, like a computer store, and his boss was actually one of those guys like, oh, the Civil War's on halftime, we're gonna come back and all that kind of shit.
Right?
Well, you know what the worst part of it was? Now we have the internet here. We have instant communication all the way across the country. I mean, I'm in southern Wisconsin and talking to two people in the middle of Florida right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we can share the ideas. We have the historical common knowledge of what's going on. In 1977, my grandpa's plant shut down. He was working at a Goodyear plant up here. They wound up, he could either take his retirement at the time or go out and try to find another job, or they could transfer him to another plant. And they wound up transferring him to Union City, Tennessee. So his two youngest daughters went with him, both of them with a classical Northern education of what happened there. And my aunt told us, we were having a family gathering this past summer, and she told us that when she started going to school in Tennessee, they tried to tell her that the Confederacy won the Civil War.
Oh, really? I mean, I'm sorry,
But
but
once
they
again, that was
objectively
in
didn't.
'77, so
Right, but I mean, yeah, they objectively didn't. Or, yeah.
I mean, but
So, I don't know.
I mean, honestly, I mean, like they say, history is written by whoever wants to write the fucking history. It's,
well, that's one way to put it.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, Bible much. So, but this is, I don't know. I think that we should all be prepared for the deconstruction of the Constitution. I think it's in hindsight, it really is the only smart thing to have happen. Is it's got to be redone at the very least. It's got to be remade to reflect
it doesn't,
present day
though.
society.
It doesn't, though. First of all, and we've talked about this plenty of times before on the show. First of all, who do you trust with your rights?
I know,
and whether or not you get to have them.
I know this
Secondly,
argument. I get that.
Well, right, but I mean that's the biggest problem with trying to change the Constitution and or trying to renew the Constitution. I mean, who's to say the actual rights will be in there? Or who's to say they're not going to add other shit that requires the government to do things instead of preventing them from doing things?
Well, that's going to be part of the problem too. Is I mean, the people who are going to go in and write the Constitution, that are going to be the radicals and want to eliminate it and get rid of it, are going to want to have a direct democracy, and that is going to shaft places like Montana and Wyoming.
Yeah,
They're never going to sign on to it. They're never going to ratify it.
No. So you do this a different way. What you do is you turn it over to the citizenry.
Oh, God.
Hold on. Listen.
No.
Hear me out. You start with the very simple premise. Nothing is going to change about our present Constitution and its place in our society. Nothing is going to change with that. Unless a group can come up with a ratification of the Constitution that can then be submitted to the rest of the populace and agreed upon by a representative amount of people, however we do it, say 2/3 majority through representation in Congress, Washington, or on a state level, which is probably what has to happen. It's got to be ratified on a state level, so you can take it down smaller. And you could, in the present day and age, we can take it down smaller to even the municipality level of counties. But present this to the populace. If you find if something is submitted that is objective enough to clear up the confusions that are in the Constitution that we have created, not confusions that are inherently there, but that we have created, and submit that. And if it's feasible, then we can say, okay, now we can ratify the Constitution with a new Constitution that everyone's agreed on. with no intention of changing it if we cannot come to a consensus in this country that is an acceptable change.
Well, no, the only thing we should really get rid of is just the federal income tax.
I was just about to say we would
Yeah.
solve a lot of this if we got rid of the 16th Amendment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but then you're just inherently saying that money is the only issue. Money is it will solve
Yeah, the
all our
rest of it's about
problems.
right. The rest of it's about enforcement,
I mean,
enforcing the current existing constitution, but removing the federal income tax.
okay, so you take income tax out of the picture, and then we have to deal with, where we're going to get money for infrastructure, right? And how does that
No.
Fuck them hoe ass roads.
No, the problem with getting rid of the 16th Amendment is not what we're going to do about infrastructure, because fuck infrastructure. The problem is
fuck infrastructure. I
Fuck
love
them
how you
hoe-ass
say
roads,
fuck
man.
infrastructure
the problem that's
because
going
that's
along
not
with-
important.
States and municipalities can take care of infrastructure. The
We
problem is
can
going
hope
to
they
be-
will.
Oh, will you let me
They
finish?
did before. They did. But yes, let Ed finish. You fuck.
The problem is going to be that if you get rid of the federal income tax, if you repeal the 16th, then California no longer has a clear shot at Wisconsin's money.
Whatever. That's just some personal jab that you're taking. You
It's money. It's always personal.
If anyone sits around and thinks that you can take out that source of revenue from the government and what it actually, the things that it does, you can just drop that out of the picture. And that the states are just going to be like, oh, okay, we got this. And that private corporations are going to be like, oh, okay, we got this. You're fools.
No,
You
I'm
can't
not a
get rid
fool.
of income
We
tax
go- we-
without instituting a fair tax. You must have taxes.
We must have taxes, that's fine, but what we have to do is get ourselves back to the point where all 50 states pay income, well, it was less than 50 states at the time, but pay taxes to the federal governments, and they assess how they get it from the citizens. How it was before the 16th Amendment.
hmm And we had roads back then too.
Yeah, we did have roads.
And
It's
then,
crazy how that works.
so then how do you convince a population that they don't want what they've been wanting for decades?
They haven't wanted it. They're just used to it. They can't see another way.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
That's the
talk to
issue.
people around April 15th. When
Yeah,
they all
find-
tell you how much they're taking the ass from taxes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
find
live in.
someone who wants to pay taxes. Find me one person who's like, yes, please, I want to pay more taxes specifically.
I
And
I
who
live in
means it.
I live in a country full of people who want the government to take care of things.
Yeah, but they want them to charge other people money.
Yeah,
not
they don't want to pay
themselves.
the taxes in themselves.
Right,
You know what? Most people pay taxes with the knowledge
because they have to.
that is buying them the ability to bitch and kvetch and get the government to take care of more things.
No, they're paying taxes knowing that it's the only way that they're not going to go to jail.
Yeah, pretty much.
And
And
how
a
is
lot of
that?
them aren't paying taxes either. You got to keep that in mind, because
And
a lot of the people out there that want the stuff fall underneath the standard deduction.
and that's going to be the same. You can make that argument about any taxes that are put out there. I mean, it's not taxation without representation.
Bullshit, it isn't.
Yeah, bullshit, man.
I'm sorry, it's there, and you have representatives in Congress that haven't gotten rid of it. So it is taxation with representation. I mean, it literally is.
I don't feel very represented.
Just because you don't want to pay them doesn't mean you're not represented. I mean, because there are people in Washington that argue for a fair tax, so there's some representation
many.
there. But
There's
that's
like two.
yeah, well,
There's like two people.
it's
And I'm being
representation. There you go. I mean, so you're taxed because you're taxed, and you're gonna be taxed. And this idea can be applied to any taxes that it's theft. I get it, but it pays for things that you need. Whether you want to argue that it doesn't or does. I mean, fuck.
I don't know.
Counties are
don't think
expected.
so.
Counties and cities are supposed to be taking care of their roads now, and they don't fucking do it 90% of the time.
Right. So what's the
My
point?
county
Like,
does.
No,
ours doesn't.
yeah, I mean, if you
Not
go
around
on,
here.
you
Unless you
run
go,
right.
unless you go to like the tourist areas, those are nice roads.
I mean, it's
But
already the
you leave,
responsibility, and you don't. I mean,
wait, yeah, the tourist areas like Disney, Universal, SeaWorld, that kind of area, very nice roads, very awesome. You go outside of that, fucked.
yeah, but then you also want your interstate commerce, right? You want that interstate commerce. So we need pipelines to get all of that through.
Well, I mean,
Roadways
the
and
interstate wasn't
railways
around
and
until like the late 40s, I believe,
yep.
right?
But you still want your interstate commerce and you want all of that. So, but
Well, how did things get places before we had the interstate?
I don't know. The same way it did in points in time where we hadn't advanced technologically to the point we are now. It's a different ball game now. We can't
I
compare
understand that.
things. We can't compare apples and oranges and expect them to
We're
taste like
not.
bananas.
We're comparing taxes and less taxes.
Taxation now is not the same as it was then.
That's what I'm.
It's
That's
still
what we're
theft.
saying.
I mean,
Yeah, that's what we're saying. It's not the same now as it was then,
but
right?
it is the same necessary evil.
I mean, one can make that argument. And one did.
Yeah, yeah, you can make that
But
argument all day long.
right, right, but right, right, but I still think that there's a better way of doing it
And,
than
and,
an income tax and stealing it right from your check.
And I am going to say, at the time that it was put into the Constitution, that required a 2/3 vote across states to ratify that fucking constitutional amendment. So when we talk about getting rid of it, I get it. We've done that before by putting another amendment to nullify. But that was
Late
taxation.
50s.
That's
See,
taxation with representation right there.
I was being generous, by the way. The interstates came in the late 50s.
I'm not going to
Well,
argue
Yeah, it
that
was
the
under
way
Eisenhower.
Yeah, I was being generous and saying the late 40s, but
Well, but
yeah,
interstate commerce has been around a lot longer than that, right?
yeah.
And
Hmm.
that's got to be regulated and it's got to be taken care of and it's got to be dealt with and that requires money. And yeah, I mean, who wants to foot the bill for that? Well, fuck you, you got to. It was put into place with people's knowledge. It wasn't like it was slid under the radar and like, oh, by the way, we're going to start taxing you. And but again, it's not like they couldn't see that 50 100 years later there's a better way to tax
But the thing
and
is,
do
the
this.
no, no, no. The federal income tax was supposed to be temporary, like most things government does.
I agree.
It was supposed to be
I
temporary,
agree. Yes,
and then
it
it just
was.
never, because they're not going to make less money.
Yeah, but
So
lots of things are. The war on terror was supposed to be temporary. Um,
no, it was never supposed to be temporary.
what was said? See again. Notice
Right? Yeah,
what was said is most important here, and what was done. I mean, we even won the war on terror at one point. Remember?
Mission accomplished. Yeah.
Right. So I'm just saying, I get it, and I understand that there are better ways to tax. There's a better way to do it, but when it's all said and done, you're still going to have to pay some taxes, and you're still going to argue that it's theft one way or the other. Even if it was a system that didn't require income tax, you would argue that it's still theft, right?
Well,
Gotcha.
that's because it is still theft. But
It
I
is.
can give my state representative and my state senator the finger a lot easier than I can tell Cocaine Mitch and Skeletor Nancy to fuck themselves.
Because then we'd have to hire Steven to go over there and flip them off
I
for
mean,
us.
if we didn't have taxes, I get it. We could rely on the citizenry to take care of things like making sure roads are staying in place, etc. Right? Because you'll go out there after you've done a hard day's work and you'll help repave the local roads in your community, right? You're going to get on
Domino's
that.
tried to do that.
Uh,
Yeah.
but anyway,
Domino's did.
notice I get two different things. Domino's tried to do that, and
Yeah, the
Domino's
federal
did
government
that.
shut their asses
Yeah.
down.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
because
they did do some of it, and then
Well,
the federal government was like, no, 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 no. That's our job to not do.
oh well,
You can't do that.
but I'm talking about John and Ed going out. You guys are going to go out and help tar the roads and resurface and make sure that you're able to get back and forth to places, right?
If it wasn't illegal, I would already have a road in the bag sitting out in that
Well, if there's
gigantic fucking pothole in front of
well,
that
no,
building.
in a world with no taxes, It would be legal because it would be necessary. That's what you would have to have
Yeah, so
happening.
without taxes, I could also afford the goddamn road in a bag.
So we would have to
Yeah.
rely on the citizenry to be out there and making sure that 15 million people in a city are able to get back and forth to work and shopping and all of that, right? That would be
I
taken
mean,
care
people
of.
would. Yeah, if you didn't have any other option, yes, you would. But not only that,
Or
most
the
of
other
it would be
side of it
done.
is,
Most of it would be done by the businesses that are around.
yeah,
I
because
mean,
they want the infrastructure to do it.
right?
They want the
want people
infrastructure to run their product on.
Are you
yeah,
fucking
that they
kidding
want
me?
people. They want employees to be able to get to work. They want the customers to be able to get to them. Yes, or to get to the customer if they're a delivery service.
Wait,
Yes, 100%.
are you two forgetting the fact that we currently live in a society of people who want to get as paid as much as possible per hour for as little work as possible? And
Okay, but we're talking about a hypothetical society at this point.
no, if we,
Yeah, one
I'm
that
just
wasn't
talking about
ruled by a
getting
federal income
I'm
tax.
just talking about
Yes.
getting rid of taxes, and I mean, you don't live in a society where that's possible, where the outcome would be beneficial to everyone.
Oh, the outcome would change
Yeah.
in a hell of a hurry when people realize that the Gibbs stopped.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there will be
People gotta
problems
eat.
at first, obviously,
People gotta fucking eat, man.
and people are going to eat. Yeah,
Yeah,
no one's
and-
going to starve on purpose.
And what's going to happen? How do you think the bulk of this society is going to react? They're going to be like, "Oh, I better get out and plant a fucking garden."
No, a lot of people are going to be pissed off and riot,
Right,
probably.
right. So, yeah, it's going to be it would be some of the biggest turmoil this country's ever seen.
But again, how do you take things away?
I
One
think they
small
call that the
piece at a
purge.
time. Yeah.
There it is. See, I was
You could
waiting
use some
for it.
fitting of
And
the
there it
herd.
is.
Yeah.
There it is.
Fitting of the
I knew there would be a Darwinian in the crowd somewhere.
herd.
uh,
Oh, look at this. In 1910, over 10,000 Iowa farmers created Highway 6 over 300 miles in 1 hour. It's pretty impressive.
define Highway 6. Now, in 1910, we're talking about dropping
talking
a
about
dirt
300
road.
miles.
We're talking about making a dirt road.
No, Highway
Not
6 would have been
necessarily.
paved.
In 1910, it would have been paved?
Oh, yeah.
Really? We were paving roads in 1910 before we had cars?
We had cars in 1910,
When were automobiles becoming mass production?
around that time.
I thought it was 1914 to 19 somewhere a little later.
That would be right around 1910, wouldn't it?
But were they dropping
Yeah.
was it a paved road? I'm curious about that. There is a little bit of a difference there. 10,000 men in 1
But-
hour, 300
But
miles.
even if there is, I mean, that just shows that people will get together and do what needs to be done.
No, it shows that people used to get together and do shit like that.
Because they didn't have another choice.
Again, wholly different society we live in today. We live in a society of instant gratification.
Right.
Tax dollars get you instant
Dirt and gravel,
gratification.
mostly.
You know.
But no, I mean, so obviously that would change, right? If you had no choice but to do things for yourself, then you would do things yourself.
I would question how much of the population would live through that transition.
Probably a lot of people. I mean, don't get me wrong, a lot of people are going to riot, and so
That would. I'm just saying that would be the point. That would be the point where 2 to 3 major countries in this world would gang together and just be like, "Oh, we're taking this fucking place over. They're ripe for it."
Good
now."
luck.
Right?
Good luck, because we'll have machine guns and shit. We'll be able to
Yeah.
be allowed to have fully automatic weapons.
The
and tanks and shit.
the military will be too busy trying to shut down all the fucking riots.
I didn't say military.
Oh, yeah, but we'll have so many small wars going on, we won't have time to focus on the big picture. And by the time we do focus on the big picture, it'll be Red Dawn times 10.
No, we got to get the idea across again that there's a gun behind every blade of grass in this country.
There is, isn't there?
Well, not really, because a lot of people don't own guns. So yes, there are more guns
wait.
than people. Like, there's more guns owned than there are people in this country, but it's more that a lot of people have several, as opposed to everyone having at least one.
Are you telling me the fear-mongering is not true?
What? I'm not saying that at all.
That we have too many guns?
There's
no,
no
we
such
don't
thing
have.
as
Yeah,
totally gone.
there's no such
I'm,
thing.
I'm sorry, you obviously don't listen to the fear-mongering. You haven't heard the fear-mongering? What?
I don't know what you're talking about.
There's too many guns in this country. Everyone's got guns. Too many people are dying. Come on, mass shootings, too many guns.
Too many guns. Too many guns. No.
There's
We
not
need
no
we
such
need a
thing as
society.
guns.
We need to go back to a society where people are killed wholesale with knives and swords. Thank you very much.
No, we're not English.
Yeah. However much I would like to actually use my skill with the sword, I would prefer guns. Because then, at least it would be worth something at that point instead of just a useless skill that I have.
As opposed to the other skills that you have.
Well, yeah, most of them are pretty useless.
Like appearing on someone else's live stream when you're invited.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at not doing that. No, it's only happened one time, man.
I don't know. I could argue this all night. We're gonna
Yeah, we're already
get
15 minutes
nowhere as we
over.
go, but I do have to say that I'm really hungry. I have to work
I
at 8
don't
o'clock in the
care
morning,
about your
and
little hunger feels.
Oh,
I don't care about your little hunger feels.
yeah, I have to work at 4 a.m., man. So,
Did you?
what's happening with Ed?
I know it was like, did he freeze like that on purpose? Because that was a pretty cool
I
freeze.
know. I
Yeah,
don't know.
you
You
phrased
guys
for a
rose up in a conversation as I was saying there's a Packer game on, and
Gotcha.
A Fudge Packer game on. Forgot about it.
it's Packer Viking too. Keep in mind.
All right, well, fine. Ed, thanks for stopping by, and I don't think you chastised John enough. I think that maybe you should do more. Discord server is open. Please feel free to call him out and see if you can't embarrass him some.
It's true.
Well, I intend to know John for a very long time, so I'm sure it'll come up many times.
I'm sure it will, yeah.
If you could find the perfect meme that compares him to Baby Yoda, that would be great. That would be
I think
awesome.
it would be like Baby Yoda looking up, like, all expectantly.
Don't give him ideas.
And then like the text will just be like, when he says he'll show up to my live stream. It's just...
John, do we have anything coming up? Nope. Okay, good.
Just Christmas. That's
Christmas.
about
Hey, all you people out there that are watching the show, and you know who you are, Ron Helton, and the rest of you that were popping in the chat. I don't know who's still out there. I don't keep up with this crap. Who am I, right? But you guys have yourself a safe and happy holiday coming up. Hopefully you get everything that you wanted for Christmas, as long as what you wanted was world peace. If you're not asking for that, well, I don't know. It saddens me.
World peace would be boring.
No, it wouldn't.
There would be nothing going on.
Duh, video games and porn.
Life is conflict, Robert.
No, world peace would not impact video games and porn. Anyway, so John, they can find us somewhere. There's places.
Yes, in the description.
Oh, there. Ed,
yes, down
Ed,
here.
We need you to point down, Ed. If you don't point down, it doesn't.
Down.
Not at your penis. There we go.
I'm always pointing at my penis.
So, description. Yes, we have several links there. We have our Twitter at the GenGapP. We have our Discord server link. Go and join that so you can watch Ed berate me for not being on his stream earlier. We've got freedomscoop.com, where you can find us, our videos, our merchandise. With our promo code, you can get 15% off. You can also find other cool creators like Ed over here, and also Stephen Ignoramus, among others. I believe Wyatt from Roundtable Decision does articles or something over there. So, definitely go check that out. Pretty sweet place.
Hey, and John, I'm going to put the onus on you. Make sure that if you could update our description with Ed's links, since he showed up, we'll go ahead and give him some props in there. Don't put up his Freedom Scoop code, though. We don't like him that much.
Right.
We will be coming back again on Friday at 8:30 for our regular show, our regular Friday night show. John, I expect you to bring your gifts so you can show us what your mommy and daddy got you for Christmas.
I will.
What Santa might have brought you. And Ed, we are not going to see you around for the rest of the year. Is that correct?
Yes, the show that we did earlier was I think I'm going to do one more game stream before the end of the year. I'll do one more video game stream, but
yeah, but those
world is done until 2020.
The game streams are just fake news, just so everybody knows. Those aren't.
They're not canon.
Yeah, I mean, I would disavow. Make sure there's a disclaimer on there. But we'll also be back again a week from tonight on our regular Monday night show, 8:30, shooting the shit. Still won't be in the new year yet, so we're still getting to the new year. About a week away from that or so, a little over, and that sounds exciting. So outside of that, Ed, if you've got anything that you want to throw out there, and I hate to ask you to do this on the show, but if you want to plug yourself, please feel free, as long as it's not too
Just
graphic.
don't show us.
Let me get a little black bar up just in case I need to. But anything you've got going on?
Well, you can find me on YouTube. The extension at the end of the link is going to be JEdgar101. I actually got that fixed, so that is my official site now. You can find me on Twitter. That is at Edsblog Twitter with a 1 in place of the I. You can also find me on Minds, on Gab. I'm over on BitChute. You can go and find me there. Otherwise, you can catch my live streams on YouTube, as I mentioned before, or Twitch or DLive. Or if you're lucky enough to know me in person, you can find me on Facebook too. So.
Nice.
And I would expect to see Ed on here again. I mean, he's we like.
He's
him.
all right for a white boy.
He's not. He's white.
I think so.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know.
Might have to rethink that. Ed, how are you in blackface?
I'm not a Virginia governor.
Yeah. But you could be.
Yeah.
You could
But I
become
play one on
qualified.
television, right?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to get the hell out of here, folks. Ed, thanks for stopping by. John, thanks as usual, for being here and adding your colorful commentary that nobody buys into anyway. As having said that, again, folks, happy holidays to you. Enjoy Christmas. Fuck happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry
We're rebels, us.
ho, ho, ho. That's right. I said ho, ho, ho. 3 of them right here. Ho, ho, ho's. And we're going to get the hell out of here. Until next time, we'll see you later, folks. Peace out.
See you guys.
Take care.
If you like what you heard tonight, please make sure and go ahead and subscribe. Hit that like button. Tell your friends, tell your family. Blast it on Twitter. Throw it on Instagram. Send it in an email to your grandma and mail it to your congressman. Make sure everybody hears about it. Let's get part of the discussion going with all of you out there just as well as we're having the conversation here. We're going to keep talking. We'll see you next time.